It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. If this is your very first time tuning in, thank you so much. You know, we have so many amazing programs on the Divas That Care network. We have so many great guests and hosts, and you definitely don't want to miss those out. There's so many special ones, especially right now, this time of year. There's some pretty neat ones happening. Today, I'm really excited because I have this amazing woman that comes into my program. She comes on a monthly basis, and she always has these amazing tips and tools. We have a playlist set up just for her because she just has so many things that I want to share with each and every one of my listeners out there. So I'll make sure that I put those links on our podcast afterwards. But if you haven't heard this amazing woman, you're not going to want to miss today's program. Today's amazing monthly guest is Rhonda Armour, and she just makes me smile each and every time I have the opportunity to chat with her. So welcome back, Rhonda.
Thank you so much. Very kind words and wonderful introduction. I'm always happy to be here. I love our conversations. They're real, and they're real issues that are facing really, all of us that we're challenged with over the last couple of years. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, it is just I'm just so grateful, to be honest, Rhonda. It is just so much fun. I love everything that you share with us, and I really do incorporate all of those tips into my lifestyle, too, because I think it's so important to be able to do that.
Good. And that's the thing. We're talking about real issues, right? Real challenges that we're all faced around our self-care, myself included, and so I want to have these conversations so that other people realize that, just because I'm dealing with this doesn't mean that, someone else isn't dealing with these things too. They're common, they're real, and we need to talk about them.
Exactly. So, Rhonda, would you mind introducing yourself to perhaps our new listeners today?
Absolutely. So I am a nutrition and lifestyle coach, as well as a personal trainer, and I do all of my coaching and training virtually, so no matter where you are in the world, we can connect. And really my focus is putting self-care back on your priority list. We're not just talking about food, which we will talk about. We talk about movement and sleep and stress management and your mindset and maybe some of the different issues that you've carried with you over time, maybe the way you grew up around food or, just your mindset about your self-care in general. We're talking about your energy levels and really how to make you feel great again. Oftentimes, as we get older, especially women, right, we tend to sort of take on too much, and then we forget about the way we take care of ourselves, and then it catches up to us. And it's not too late. And what I do is I work with women, primarily women, to strategize. How do we fit self-care measures and habits back into your style? Because we're all very different. We have different lifestyles, so therefore the approach has to be different and unique. And we really just work on incrementally implementing these different habits into your life with some education pieces, because there's some things around food especially that people are uncertain about, but feeling like you have a support system. I'm there to be your cheerleader and your support system and your accountability partner to make sure that you're back in the driver's seat.
I love that. And now, especially, we're coming into the Christmas season and, we're around people that we don't always see, sometimes we only see them once or twice a year. Yeah. And we're going to be talking about eating today because I think it's really important. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she had mentioned that her son doesn't go to events or family gatherings because he has a special diet. Okay. There's only certain things that he can eat, and he doesn't like being questioned about why he's not eating what all these other people are eating. And I love to address that kind of a thing because during the holiday season, not all of us can eat the same foods, and I find it very challenging too with myself that, having people always question, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's very difficult, and maybe that's something that you can help some of our listeners today with.
Yeah, you're right. It is challenging. Whether you are, you have a special diet because of a medical condition. Maybe you have an allergy, or, maybe you just don't want to eat some of the food that is available to you. And we're also, the same things we're going to discuss around food also are about alcohol as well, which tends to be very prevalent during the holiday season. And I think that we have to sort of stand strong in our position around food and alcohol around the holidays, and not feel, shame or guilt or pressure to eat and drink things that we are not comfortable with, right? Because that's what it tends to be. The focus, unfortunately, around holidays and gatherings tends to be on the food and alcohol, and that's not why we're there. So my first, sort of piece of advice to like my clients and people I talk to is remember what the holidays are about. I know it seems fun because there's different food there and it's all these goodies and people are baking and the turkey and stuffing and all these things. But remember why we are celebrating this holiday in the first place, about family and friends, and maybe there's certain religious beliefs you have and why you're celebrating those, and take less emphasis off of the food and the alcohol piece, and remember why we're really gathering. Because that's a good starting point, right? It's a good starting point to recognize that you're not, gathering with family to eat. That's just, the food is there because we, have to eat in a day, but we don't need to overindulge in that don't work for us. Again, whether it's because it's just not a healthy choice for you, or because you have some sort of medical condition, or maybe an allergy or intolerance. And you also don't need to explain your choices and behaviors to other people. And this is why I say sort of stand strong in your position and be confident going in about what choices are going to work for you. I think we just give in, it's like being in high school again. We give into these, this pressure situation, and then we get home and we go, oh my gosh, and we don't feel well, or, maybe we just don't feel good mentally about the choices that we made. And that's not how I want people to feel. I want people to feel like they were in control over the holidays. Doesn't mean you need to be strict and you need to be, deprive yourself of things that you enjoy, but we want to feel like we are in control of what we were doing, and that the holidays did not take that away from us.
I really like that. Can I ask you, I don't even know if you can answer this question, but when did it become so important during this time of the year that it had to focus really on the food? Because,
I know.
To me, it doesn't make any sense. I just want to be there to be with people, and but yeah, it seems to, and I hear that all the time, is that people feel guilty and they don't want to. And I thought, that shouldn't be a reason you don't go to an event. It's because of, food and alcohol and things like that. You should really want to be there. So I don't know if there's a way that we can shift that mind frame, or that, just so that people aren't thinking that way.
Yes. And I don't know when that began. I feel like it's become it's just become this thing. It's really a focal point, right? And especially with the baking and the goodies and people exchanging things and delivering things to their neighbors of food. And it's so much. We just tend to do things we go overboard with everything. And you could do the same thing with presents. It just gets to be too much, and we lose focus on what we are actually supposed to be focused on during this time of year. And if we can scale back, right, on presents and the food and the alcohol, doesn't mean it needs to stop. But I always encourage people to think about how they want to feel when the holidays are done. We don't want to feel like, oh my goodness, what have I just done? I feel terrible physically. I feel terrible mentally. I kind of miss the whole holidays and what we were about, and gathering with family and, with your loved ones. And we missed that all because we were just overindulging, and it got the better of us. And I think we just have to try our best to stay present and be mindful and focus on what does actually matter, and not be afraid, right? Not be afraid to do what works for you. Like, I was just at a Christmas party on the weekend, and there was, lots of food and alcohol and all the things, and it's, easy to get sucked into that. Now, I was driving, so I was not, consuming alcohol, and I had some bits of food, but knew my boundaries, and it's hard to do. Trust me, it would have been easier for me to have a few drinks, and it would have been easy for me to indulge in all the food because you get caught up in the moment. But if you go to a place with a plan, you are less likely to sort of just give in on a whim to whatever presents itself to you. So go in with a plan
on
how you want to treat yourself. I think that's important, is to have a mental plan. And you don't need to explain the plan to everybody else, right? And worry about you. I think we need to be a little selfish. I know that sounds terrible, but do what works for you. Let everyone do them, and you do you.
And it's okay to simplify things. You know, I really like that. It's something that I've shared with my children over the years, is like we try to be, you know, in the moment and really simplify things. And, you know, we've always made handmade things. And I think we're going to notice a big shift this year. You know, for any of the individuals that listen to us from Canada, you know, we've really noticed a huge increase in the cost of purchasing, like not just, you know, gifts and stuff, you know, but food and just fuel, just everything. The cost has gone up. And I think, too, because sometimes people feel that they can't participate in something, they can't purchase something, that they might not want to be involved in things also. And I really want to encourage people. It's like, that's not what it's about. That's not what the holiday is about. You know, we've talked about it's not about that. It's about connecting with one another. And I think we need to do that. We need to develop those relationships again, because I think the last couple of years, there's been a lot of relationships that have had a lot of strife, I guess you could say. There's been a lot of conflict. And rebuilding that again. And it doesn't have to be involved with monetary. It just has to be with you being present and just enjoying each other's company.
100%. I completely agree. And again, easier said than done, right? It's when we're sitting around and we're,
so true.
You know, or we feel like we need to bring a gift to everything or something elaborate. If we can just sort of simplify things, and again, to your point, just understand why we're there and take in the moment. And, you know, with the regards to the food, just, you know, indulging in things that you actually enjoy, not in everything, and monitoring the alcohol. Again, I'm not trying to be, you know, ridiculous about, you know, the holidays and say that you're going to be perfectly healthy and make all the right choices, because that's not the case. And I understand that. But we don't need to go to the extremes. We tend to go to the extremes with everything, having an abundance of food and gifts and alcohol and all the things, and just refocus again, so that by the end of the holidays, we can go, you know what, that was lovely. That was an amazing time with friends and family, and we had some good laughs and created some good memories, and that's what it's about. And instead of, oh gosh, I'm laying on the couch because I feel sick, because I've overindulged, and now I'm broke because I spent all this money on gifts that people didn't need, and all of these things, it's just we go too far above and beyond. I think we just need to go back to some basics. I
love that. And then you don't need to feel guilty. I think that's the biggest thing, is we focus that if we don't do enough, or there's that guilt factor. But I honestly think, like, even going to all your family and friends, it's like, let them know it's okay. You know, let's just get together. Let's just visit, you know, like, you don't have to have these big spreads anymore. Let's just get together and spend that time, because if not, the people are in the kitchen and then they feel guilty and then they're resentful, and there's just so much involved. And I think, you know what, let's take that away. Let's change it. Let's create new traditions that you don't have to do that anymore.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, we have lost perspective on it, and being able to just, you know, there's been Christmases where, you know, it's been my turn to host, and I have not done a big, large spread, turkey, stuffing, you know, mashed potatoes and all the things, and instead said, we're just going to do some simple appetizers, and everyone brings and contributes some appetizers, so that we can spend quality time together, instead of me slaving in the kitchen.
I love that.
And then we have an hour of dishes afterwards, and it takes 10 minutes for people to eat, but 2 hours to prepare and 2 hours to clean up. And then someone is always unhappy, right? And it brought everyone together in the same room, and we're all sharing the experience, and that's worked for me, right? And my family. And so ways we have to think about, you know, just because we've done things a certain way for so many years doesn't mean that there's not opportunity for change and to do things differently. And that's okay, right? And
I think it's wonderful.
I think it's time for change. I think it's okay. You know, I in my book that we've talked about quite a few times, I outlined this story about how a couple of Christmases ago, with COVID, you know, we were forced to be at home, and I completely overdid it with the food and the poor quality food, because it was like, well, we're just home and I'm not doing a turkey dinner, and we're just going to eat appetizers and all these things, and I just went overboard, and I was so sick because I just ate all these things and my body was not used to eating all the time. and I pay the price for it. And that is, while I can kind of laugh about it now, I suppose it was like not an enjoyable time of year with my family. And, so scaling back, simplifying, and understanding what works for us, whether it's to your point about the monetary piece of it or it's from a health perspective, we have to assess what actually works for us and be okay with voicing those things to other people. We don't need to be rude or disrespectful about it, but maybe just, bringing everyone in a different way to say, you know what, why don't we give this a try and see if this can work better for everybody?
I think that's absolutely brilliant. And you would also, we have mentioned in the program before, is this way, when we have these conversations, you can bring the types of foods that you can eat to these events too, because isn't that the whole thing, is that we can't necessarily eat what everybody else is eating, but if we can bring something that we can possibly eat, then it even works out even better. So then there's no guilt involved in any parties involved.
Absolutely. It's always nice to bring something along anyways, right, when you go to someone else's place. So offer to make, maybe a healthier dish that works for you. Again, this isn't always just about being healthy. Maybe it is about an allergy or an intolerance to certain foods. So if you can bring something that works for you as well, and something that you can share with everybody else, maybe people are exposed to different foods that they hadn't, experienced before, and maybe they love it too and can get some, some benefit from that as well. I think the other thing we have to be aware of during this time of season is feeling like we are pushed into eating or drinking things that we're not comfortable with. Again, whether it's a health reason or a medical sort of reason. And again, being okay with saying, no, thank you. That doesn't work for me, or, I'll pass on that. Thank you so much. And we can be pleasant about it, but again, you're concerned about your own well-being and what works for you as an individual during this time of year. Doesn't mean we need to come off track with regards to what works for us. And so that we can have this time of year not be this big train wreck in our self-care and our health. It can just be sort of a little blip in the radar. I think we talked about this last year, Candace, about, how, and I don't think you are either, a big fan of the New Year's resolution thing, especially around, health and things like that, and weight loss or whatever it might be. And instead it just be a seamless transition from Christmas into a brand new year, where we don't feel like we're starting again because it was a train wreck over Christmas. Yes. But we still took good care of ourselves, physically and mentally. And then we move into the new year. I'm all for having new goals for a new year, but that doesn't mean that we need to destroy everything we've worked so hard for through the course of 2022. Oh
my gosh, I completely agree with that. You know, and this could be a great time for those communications again. I think a lot of us are almost gun shy of even talking about things because we're so scared of what people are going to think about us. Yeah. But you know what? I don't think people judge us as much as we judge ourselves. Right. And to be open and honest with people, I think they really respect that. And they want to help. They want to assist. And, we've talked about that support network. You don't know who could be out there to really support you on your journey. Yes, absolutely. It could be someone in your own family, right? Or the friends that you're gathering with or whatever, right? So everyone's got something that they're sort of navigating, right? And so when you come together and you have all different personalities and needs and health concerns and all sorts of things in one room, everyone is dealing with something. I think we all need to be respectful of that and be respectful of the choices that people want to make, and understanding that they're making the best choices that work for them doesn't mean it would work for us, and that's okay. And take the judgment out of it. I think that would allow us to be more confident in our ability to have that communication, like you said, with people, to say, what, I'm not going to, engage in this, or this doesn't work for me, or I'm not going to eat this certain thing or drink this certain thing or spend this much money or whatever it might be, and communicate. And I think people will be more receptive to it. It's all the way that you handle it, right? The language that we use and things like that. But I think that, we need to be, it's being an advocate for yourself, which is a big thing too, right, as to what works for you. It doesn't mean you don't have to participate in things. We want everyone to have a great time and be around their loved ones and their friends. But we need to make choices that work for us so that we can get through the holidays and go, you know what, that was amazing. That was great. I was still able to, have my boundaries in place, but I was still able to have a wonderful time. Oh, exactly. And you don't know who you can inspire around you. There might be other people that are going through something similar, or, they're just going through something, but they're so scared of what others are going to, if they're going to judge them. And you'll be like, no, and they're going to be okay with it. And they're going to be like open with themselves. And I think that's what it is. It's just knowing that you're comfortable around a person enough that you can be yourself and not have to pretend and not have to hide things away. It's just like, this is me and this is what I'm going through, and it's okay. And other people feel that way too. It's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going through something also, and it's okay. And I love that, because this is the time when you are around the people that obviously you love and you care about the most, and being authentic with them is really important.
Yes, 100%. I totally agree. And that makes the celebrating and the gathering so much more enjoyable, right? When you can just be honest and authentic and be yourself, and do what works for you, and assume that everyone else is doing the same, and have those conversations. And listen, there's a lot of people. I work with clients every day, and we're not just talking about implementing healthy habits and moving their body and getting enough sleep. We're talking about what issues they're facing in their everyday life. Maybe it's mental health, maybe it's issues with family or friends or community or whatever it might be, because life is hard, right? And so again, going back to the whole simplifying everything, we don't need to make things harder than they already are, right? So if it means we can scale back on things or just simplify things to make life a little easier for us so that we can enjoy the holiday season, I think that's where we need to go. I actually had a conversation this morning with a client. We were talking about decorating for Christmas, and she's like, you know what, I just put out my favorite things this year. I have so many things, and it stresses me out. And I thought, good for you for just, putting some boundaries in place, because we always feel like we should do certain things because maybe we've done that in the past. But if this year it's not working for you, then maybe there's opportunities for change or ways to scale back so that you can still enjoy the holiday season.
I love that. Well, this has been so much fun, Rhonda. Is there any other tips and tools, things that you can share with our listeners today?
I think just because we're speaking about the holiday season, I think that, just remember that there's certain habits you've been working on through the year, whether it's maybe it's been being more active, each day, or maybe it's, cutting back on your sugar a little bit, or maybe it's getting more sleep, that you don't need to sacrifice those things just because it's the holidays. Because let's face it, the Christmas is one day, but for some reason the holiday season is really kind of like a month long, right? It drags on and on and on. And then before you know it, those habits are gone. So stay true to what you've been working so hard at. They will help you to get through the holiday season in better spirits. Your energy will be there. So don't sacrifice what you have been working so hard at just because it's Christmas time and think, oh, well, I'll just start fresh in the new year. This is a great opportunity for you to challenge yourself and to continue with those habits, and they will make you feel great all season long.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I love that.
Thank you.
And for all of our listeners, I'm going to be posting all of Rhonda's social media. So important for you to go and check her out. She's got her amazing website, but it's got her a link to where you can purchase her book. Rhonda, do you want to just mention on the show here your website address so they can go and check that all out?
Absolutely. So it's RhondaArmourCoaching.com. And you're right, you can see information about my book and what my services are and just sort of my thoughts, on how we should sort of be approaching self-care. You can also book a complimentary consultation if you just want to have a chat to see if maybe coaching might be a good fit for you. I'm happy to have a conversation. And again, you don't have to wait till the new year to have these conversations and get started in better self-care. But RhondaArmourCoaching.com is where you can find me.
So much. And, well, I'm just going to wish you a happy Christmas and a happy New Year. We're not going to be chatting again until, 2023. Oh, my gosh. Where is the time going? Isn't that crazy to say that?
I know. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so I hope you have an amazing Christmas. I hope all the listeners have an amazing, holiday season with their friends and family, and enjoy sort of whatever weather you're experiencing in any part of the world. But take time for yourself and enjoy it as much as you can.
Well, I agree, and thank you so much. And a huge shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into us this year. We've really had some amazing shows, especially with Rhonda. We've had some fantastic things, and I hope that you go and check out her playlist that is available on SoundCloud. We have it on the Divas That Care network, Spotify. It is just absolutely fantastic. Make sure you check her out. And, I want to thank each and every one of you. I just appreciate that you have been supportive of the Divas That Care and all these amazing guests, all the amazing hosts. It is very humbling to know that we've been doing this now for 12 years and we are listened to in over 30 countries. And honestly, it's because of all these amazing people that share our programs, they like our programs, and they really support everybody that's been a part of it. So thank you again. And please make sure, everyone, do something kind. The world needs more kindness out there. It's overwhelming sometimes. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. And there's people out there that want to help you. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.